Good evening, everyone. Now let us begin our session. I, Kanan, on behalf of Women Members Empowerment Committee of ICAI, welcome you all in the Sky High Symposium Series 34. Sky High Symposium is a Wednesday series of programs conducted by the committee for the women and by the women. It is one of the Women Members Empowerment Committee's initiative to not only disseminate information to women members on technical updation and non-technical skills, but also to empower and inspire women members to come at forefront and realize their verbal skills at public forum. Today we are going to cover session on key highlights on revised code of ethics and work-life balance and self-care. For our first session, we have CA Karisma with us. Now let me introduce CA Karisma. Hello, ma'am. Karisma is an associate. Karisma is an associate partner with Price Waterhouse and has post-qualification experience of 20 years. Has worked in different functions in this practice over the years. She has also done various courses of IIMB, INSEAD, and NSC. She is also part of various committees like Ethical Standard Board subgroups in ICI. She has also worked on various position papers, white papers for various regulatory bodies like SEBI and NAFTA. She has also performed quality reviews in various countries, which includes Ireland, Israel, Egypt, Bahrain, where she got great reviews from those countries. Given her varied experience, Karisma is regularly tapped to conduct and facilitate various training programs. Her contribution over the years has been well appreciated, and she has received several commendations for her work across forums. Always an optimist and avid believer in the world is my oyster. Karisma loves to travel and is always ready to try new ideas. So now with this brief, I would request CA Karisma to begin her session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanan. It was a very kind introduction, and of course, and thank you for the opportunity given to me by ICI, and of all the various forums which I speak on, I think I was most excited to talk today because it is part of the Women Empowerment Committee session, and that really as I was on holiday, I said no, let me just if this is Preeti ji just told me that you need to do it, I said I'm happy to do it, right? And here I am. So today. More I will be talking on, over the last 1 year, whatever changes which have happened in the code of ethics. I'll briefly teach, also in terms of nuclear, right? That's a hot topic today. And even the fees relative size. So those three broad parameters I'll cover today, but happy to answer questions during the course. You all can put it on the chat box. Happy to answer them as well, right? So I'll just share my screen. And let me know if it is visible, right, to you guys. Is it visible? All right, thank you. So, if you really look at the slide, the first topic, as you really see, is, the question which comes, time and again, is on whether a member may be a professional director in the board of a cooperative bank, right? Now, and that is a question which is often asked. Now, can a member be a professional director? Well, the position of a member in board of management in a UCB comprise of external members, including CA in practice, and has specified the amount of sitting fees for the services rendered by the board of directors of UCB. And the position is in the nature of quasi-decision making, and it is more akin to advisory. So the functions of the board of management in UCB and also the relevant provision, if you look at the code of ethics, which provide that, a director simpliciter means an ordinary simple director who is not a managing director or a whole-time director, and is required only the board meetings of the company and not paid any remuneration except for attending such meetings. So the position, right, of a member of a board of director in a UCB and the role attached to that position is similar to that of a director simpliciter, where there is no involvement of a member in the day-to-day functioning of the operations, and he's not also the signatory, and only sitting fees for the services rendered are provided. So the nomenclature of a particular assignment may be different. However, it is the objective which should be, seen. So, if you really see, it would be permissible, right, for the member in practice to be a professional director in the board of management of a cooperative bank, provided the requirements I stated are met, right? Now, if I move on to the second slide, another question, right, which often arises, that can a member in practice accept the appointment as special invitee or in a university offered to him on an honorary basis? Now, it is a matter of pride for members if you as well as the institute, if they are invited as a special invitee, especially in speaking forums like in university, finance committee, board of studies, government committee, etc. Right? So even if you look at the chartered accountancy regulations, members are allowed to take appointment that may be made by a central government or a state government, provided his employment is not on a salary come full-time basis. So only honorary activity requiring general permission of council, right, is the honorary office bearership of educational, charitable, and non-commercial organization. So the honorary special invitee in a university is, however, not an office bearership. So since the appointment as special invitee is honorary and it is not in the nature of office bearership, it would not come within the ambit of prohibition of clause 1, if you look at the first schedule of the CA Act. And it would be permissible for members in practice to accept the position of special invitee in the board of studies of a university. Further on, if you also see if the appointment is made by the central government or the state government in any of the committees such as finance committee or board of studies in government university, and for which you are receiving sitting fees or remuneration to be paid by the member, then such appointment would fall within under the permission which has been granted to the members in practice, right? So, if you take it in a whole, it is permissible for members in practice to accept the position of a special invitee in board of studies of a university. Another question, right? Pertinent question which is asked many times by many members is whether a statutory auditor can engage in assignment of compilation of financial statements of the same company for the same financial year. So if you look at SRS, and SRS is nothing but the standards on related services, it deals with practitioners' responsibilities when engaged to assist management with the preparation and presentation of historical financial information without obtaining any assurance on that information, and to report in accordance with this SRS. Now, this SRS applies to compilation engagements for historical financial information. It may be applied, it could be adapted as necessary to compilation engagements for financial information other than historical financial information, and to compilation engagements for non-financial information as well. So, and in this SRS, if you really see, the reference to financial information means historical financial information. So, however, if you look at this standard has been issued to deal with compilation engagements. It lists out in detail how these engagements will be carried out, documented, etc. Now, of course, and you might say that it will cause any conflict of interest if the statutory auditor has been engaged to compile the financial statements, right? So it, of course, right, as a statutory auditor of the company, it appears that it will cause a self-review threat, as the statutory auditor will be giving his report of financial statements compiled by him, which will be used by various stakeholders. So if you really look at, there's a para 5, which clearly states that management may request, and I will use the term professional accountant, may request the professional accountant in public practice to assist with the preparation and presentation of financial information of an entity. Now, the value of the compilation engagement performed in accordance with this SRS results from the application of the practitioner's professional expertise in accounting and financial reporting and compliance with the standards. And the clear communication of the nature and extent of the practitioner's involvement with the compiled financial statements. So that means a professional accountant is using his expertise while carrying out the assignment. And if that be the case, it is felt that the subsequent audit of the financial statement by the auditor will cause a self-review threat, and therefore it can be concluded that the statutory auditor should not engage in the compilation of a financial statement for the same financial year in which he will be issuing a report. If you see the next question, right? Often we are asked, SEBI advisor license, right? If you really see, members in practice are permitted to provide services of investment counseling in respect of securities or even other financial instruments, which is allowed under the CA Act 1949. Also, if you look at SEBI investor advisor regulation, a member of the institute is exempt from registration as investment advisor because he provides investment advice to the clients incidental to the professional services. So he or she may be allowed to hold license for being able to provide the professional services to clients other than the existing clients. However, irrespective of whether he provides services to existing clients or not, but a member in practice cannot engage in activities like broking, portfolio management, underwriting. Also, you're not allowed to take agency for soliciting fixed deposit mutual fund advice, etc. Right? So, barring that, as anything, if you're holding a license as a professional accountant in order to provide professional services, then it would be allowed. Otherwise, having an agency or activities of broking, underwriting, all of that will not be allowed. Now, this is a very interesting one. Services pertaining to cybersecurity, and I'm going to deal with each of them separately. The first one, if you see, is on cybersecurity audit. Now, the cybersecurity audit is nothing but an examination of organization cybersecurity and to ensure that proper security control policies are in place and all compliances of cybersecurity are met by the organization. There are a lot of technical aspects to consider. And if you look at management consultancy and other services, under the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, the activity of cybersecurity also falls under that. And there is this specific item number 18. Now, what does that item number 18 under section 2 state, right? It says system design and analysis and computer-related services, including selection of hardware, development of software, in all the areas of services which can otherwise be rendered by a chartered accountants in practice, and also to carry out any other professional services relating to EDP. So there is no issue of providing cybersecurity audit to clients by members, if you really read that section, part 18 correctly. Information system audit is also allowed for us as members, right? So, and during the course of audit, also financial statements, members have to verify the systems and controls of the organization to give a IFC view. So, and it is also in line with global practice, mind you. So, the cybersecurity audit can be performed on the similar lines by members in practice. But the deliberation should be whether the cybersecurity audit can be performed by a statutory audit. Now, if, from whatever I discussed right now, right, because during the course of audit, I have to look at the systems controls of organization. Of course, so in my view, and of course, which was debated by the council, the cybersecurity audit in all means can be done by a statutory auditor. But however, as a statutory auditor, you cannot fix the problem. On similar lines, right? On similar lines, if you see item number 5, which is computer forensic analysis, right? A member in practice can engage in services with the same fundamentals, right? Because again, looking at item 18, which allows you or a chartered accountant, right? For analyzing systems and their design, selection of hardware, development of software, which and also carry out professional services like EDP, right, which is covered under item 18. So in the same fundamentals, you can be a computer forensic analyst as well. Let's go to item number 2. All right. Now, data governance. We all know data is the new oil. Data governance and classification audit is permissible to members in practice on the same lines as it is allowed in the case of cybersecurity audit. The assignment falls under the purview of Section 2 of the CA Act 1949. Now, the nature of the assignment is nothing but it includes a process of analyzing structured data, unstructured data, and verifying that the organizer has the right data available and is accurate and in the correct format required for an organization need. So one of the question is that can it be allowed by a statutory auditor? Yes, it would be allowed by a statutory auditor during the course of audit. Again, unless it does not involve scrutiny of the financial data and information, because that will lead to a threat, right? Item number 3 on the screen is nothing but cybersecurity consultant. Can you be a cybersecurity consultant? Yes, there is no issue in providing cybersecurity consultancy services to clients, right? Item number 4 is on cybersecurity trainer. Can you be a trainer? If you look at item 17 in the guidelines for management consultancy, it says that development of human resources, including design and conduct of training programs, work study, job description, job evaluation, and evaluation of workloads is allowable. So training is very much covered as part of the management consultancy and other services. Hence, it would be permissible for members in practice to take up the assignment. The last one is a very interesting one, right? Certification of ISO and SOC, and there were many questions often asked on this. Now, what are these certifications? So the certification of ISO and SOC are issued by certification registered bodies which need to be accredited by an IAF member to be internationally recognized. Now, IAF stands for International Accreditation Forum, which is the World Association of Conformity Assessment Accreditation Bodies and other bodies interested in conformity assessment in the fields of management systems, services, products, personnel, and other similar programs of conformity assessment. Now, CAs are not permitted to get accreditation or membership from these international organizations for providing these certificates. There is some revenue sharing with the international recognized body for issuing such certificates. There is a prerequisite process to be done for issuing such certificates. These processes include surveillance audit, quality document reviews, training, even reviews in terms of gathering data, all of that, right? So the chartered accountants practice, they are not permitted to get accreditation from the international bodies for providing the certificates of ISO SOC by whatever I discussed, right? But if, as members, we can provide assistance. There's no harm in not providing assistance required for issuing these certificate. The next question, can you submit client information for past assignment? Now, if you look at part 1 of the second schedule of the Act, right, and even the commentary in volume 2 of the Code of Ethics, it says that a chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of misconduct if he discloses information in the course of professional engagement to any person other than his clients who are engaging him, without the consent of his client, or otherwise than as required by the law for the time being in force. An accountant in public practice has access to a great deal of information of his client, which is of highly confidential character. So it is important for the work of an accountant and of course for maintaining the dignity and status of the profession that he should treat such information as having been provided to him only to facilitate the performance of his professional duties for which his services has been engaged. To divulge such information would, of course, be a breach of professional confidence, which may give rise to more serious consequences, even to an action by the client for the loss suffered by him through such breach. But for this confidence that the public has developed, it is a duty, right, of a CA not to disclose. And also, it would not be possible for a person in a similar trade or industry to appoint the same accountant. So the accountant's duty not to disclose continues even after the completion of the assignments. So just because I'm a statutory auditor this year and next year I'm not the auditor, it's not that next year I can disclose. It continues even after the completion of his assignment. So in the context of disclosure of information, you also have to read, for example, SEBI insider trading regulations if it is a listed entity. However, the previous accountant, nothing debars him or her to inform such client affairs to the new accountant also as he deems fit. So, for example, a member in practicing submitting information to a regulator, say exchange control authorities, while performing his professional duties, cannot be considered to have made disclosure without the aforesaid content. But in all cases, the request or the initiative the member does prefer the services would entail such disclosure must come from the client in relation to whose affairs the disclosure would be entailed. Also, a member is not permitted to submit client information before the court as an evidence on his own behest, except where such information is required by the court through specific directions. The client information can be provided only if the client permits or law requires, or the court regulator requires in lawful exercise of his authority. So it is not permissible for chartered accountants to submit past information because his duty of care and confidentiality still prevails, right? Unless, of course, as I said, if the court asks for it. If you go to the subsequent question, right, it talks about internal auditor of an PSU can undertake GST audit of one or more subsidiaries of the same PSU. Now, let me come back to your part 1 of the second schedule. Clearly, an internal auditor cannot be a GST auditor, right, simultaneously. So the institute has specifically prohibited an internal audit to be done along with GST audit of the same entity. Now, here the question is different. Here the question is whether if the member is an internal auditor of a holding PSU company and he's offering GST audit to the subsidiary, is that allowed? Now, even if it is one entity is a holding company and second is a subsidiary company, there will be chances. You may say small, big, right? The independence of auditor being affected. Right? And therefore, it is not permissible. But yes, if you are a GST auditor of one subsidiary and an internal auditor of another subsidiary, not a holding company, not permissible. But if you are internal auditor of the subsidiary and a GST auditor of the other subsidiary, right? Then it would be permitted. Now, this is very clear. Can a CA sign valuation reports for issue of FCTRS, FCGPR, RBI compliances, etc.? Again, if you see guidelines for management consultancy and other services, valuation of shares and business and the advice regarding amalgamation, merger, acquisition, acting as a registered value under the Companies Act, read with company rules, right, is allowed for a practicing chartered accountant. So a registered value or organization allowed the members to sign the aforesaid report, and that would be no issue. It would be allowed. A CA firm, can they provide due diligence services? Now, Council in its meeting last year also said that due diligence is primarily used to investigate and evaluate a business opportunity. It implies a general duty to exercise care in any transaction. So performing due diligence involves examination of financial records, and it involves identifying whether the conditions of the company are consistent with what has been presented. So due diligence services can be provided by the members of firms. Another question is designation or designatory letter. CA can be mentioned as a prefix before the trust name being formed by the member. Again, I would like to draw your attention on Section 7 of the CA Act. What does it say? It says every member of the institute in practice shall, and any other member may use the designation of a chartered accountant, and no member using such designation shall use any other description, whether in addition to or in substitution to the term of chartered accountant or prefix CA. So basically, a term CA or the term chartered accountants can be used by the members of firms of chartered accountants only. It is not permissible to use prefix CA before the trust name, and it would be violation if you would do so under Section 7 of the CA Act. So remember, CA or the term chartered accountants is only used by members and the firm of chartered accountants, and by no other. So it could be a trust, it could be association of persons. It's not allowed. All right. Another interesting one is, can an auditor of a provident fund and a pension fund trust provide investment advisory services to the trust? Now, here our favorite Section 144 of the Companies Act comes into picture. Now, what does Section 144 say? It says that an auditor appointed under the Companies Act 2013 shall provide only services which are approved by the Board of Directors or the Audit Committee, but will not include bookkeeping services, accounting, internal audit, investment banking services, outsourced financial services, actuarial services, management services, basically any service which otherwise would be done by the management, if you keep the fundamentals in mind. And mind you, it says the term directly or indirectly shall include rendering of services by the auditor. So it's not just directly, it could be also indirectly. If you also see Rule 67 of the Income Tax Act, which says that any money which you contribute to the Provident Fund should be deposited in the Post Office Saving Bank in India, and should be used only to the extent as may be specified. And if it is not so deposited, it has to be invested, right, in the manner which is specified in the rules. Also, if you see the Controller and Auditor General Manual of Standing Orders, it says after the closure of accounts, the utilization of the funds accumulated in the Provident Fund shall be analyzed in the course of audit of the finance accounts to ensure that this has been done in accordance with the Provident Fund rules. Therefore, the auditor of a Provident Fund and the pension fund trust should not provide investment advisory services to the said trust, since the audit of trust requires the auditor to comment on how funds have been utilized, invested by the trust. Giving an advisory on the same would create the threat of self-review and dilute the independence of the auditors. One more point which comes again and again is, can a firm of chartered accountants undertake the assignment of mystery audits? Now, what is mystery audit, or what is the purpose of mystery audit? A purpose of mystery audit is to provide true and unbiased account of the customer experience, and it simulates measuring how organizations deliver products and services to customers within various touch points of the markets, using various channels like digital, store, telephone, etc. So it is considered basically as a research tool to execute the objectives and operational consistency in the right proportion. It can represent a system of measure of the organization's performance on the service. It can be an evaluation model for the performance of the staff involved in customer relation. Definitely, it could be a benchmark for orienting organizational strategies at managerial level through data and numbers, right? Or it can be a project of growth set in motion by which the customer user experiences when relating to the organizational reality. Or it could be a way to regard attention to the customer experience as a key to continuous improvement. So if you really look at this, this is the work of investigation is akin to audit, and hence it would be permissible for CA in practice to accept assignment. Also, if you really see, this is a management function and not an assurance function. It is mainly done for a customer satisfaction survey, right? So it is not an assurance service, but rather a service that has been done as per the agreed upon procedures. So it would be permissible for a member in practice to accept the assignment of mystery audit. Now, with that, I complete in terms of the recently, key changes which have been made, or the frequently asked questions, right? And what the council has addressed, correct, over the last 1 year. I also want to take up two more pertinent topics, which are the hot topics today, which is on fees, the relative fee size, right? If you really look at, the changes in fees which have happened, and it's applicable from October 1, what is that? It is applicable to all audit clients. So when the total fees generated from an audit client by the firm expressing the audit opinion represents a large proportion of total fees of that firm. So the dependence on that client and concern about losing the client creates a self-interest or a intimidation threat. And factors that are relevant, in evaluating the level of these threats include the operating structure of the firm, whether the firm is well established, it is new, the significance of the client, and it could be not just quantitatively, it could be even qualitatively to the firm. So an example of an action that might be a safeguard to address such a self-interest threat or intimidation threat is increasing the client base in the firm to reduce dependencies on the audit client. A self-interest or an intimidation threat is also created when the fees generated by the firm from an audit client represents a large proportion of the revenue of one partner or even one office of the firm. Now, the factors that are relevant in evaluating the level of these threats include the significance of the client, qualitatively, quantitatively, as I said, to the partner or the office, the extent to which a compensation of the partner or the partners in the office is dependent upon the fees generated from this client. An example of these actions that might be safeguards to address such a self-interest threat or intimidation threat includes you increase the client base of the partner or of the office so that the dependence on the audit client decreases, or also have an appropriate reviewer who did not take part in the audit engagement to review the work. Now, let me talk more on in terms of audit clients from an applicability standpoint, which are PIs, which are not PIs in the sense public interest entities. So which are not public interest entities and which are public interest entities. So where an audit client is not a public interest entity and for 2 consecutive years, the total gross annual professional fees from the client and its related entities represents more than 40% of the total fees received by the firm, expressing the opinion on the financial statement of the client. The firm will have to disclose to the institute the fact that 2 consecutive years, the total of the fees represents more than 40% of the total fees received by the firm. Now, in case the audit client is a public interest entity, then that 40% gets capped to 20%. So that means when an audit client being a PI for 2 consecutive years, the total gross annual professional fees, the total fees basically from the client and its related entities represents more than 20% of the total fees received by the firm. The firm will have to again disclose to the institute the fact that for 2 years, the total of the fees have represented more than 20% of the total fees received by the firm. However, no such ceiling on the total fees of the firm would be applicable where the total fees of the firm does not exceed 20 lakh of rupees. So if your fees overall taken by the firm together is not 20 lakh of rupees, then this section would not be applicable. Right? However, also there's also one more exemption where it says that this ceiling will also not be applicable on the total fees of the firm in case of audit of government companies or a nationalized banks or public undertakings, public financial institutions, or where appointments of auditors are made by the government or the regulators. So these are the key changes which have come in from a fees perspective, right? Now let me come to our favorite, NOCLAR, right? Responding to non-compliance with laws and regulations during the course of audit engagements of listed entities. Now, but meanwhile, let me take a pause. Yeah, are there any questions, Shanu, you want me to take up, or should I just continue? All right. So let me continue. So if you really look at this, professional accountants are required to comply with the fundamental principles and apply the conceptual framework. If you really look at section 120 to identify, evaluate, and address threat. A self-interest or an intimidation threat to comply with the principles of integrity and professional behavior is created when the professional accountant becomes aware of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with laws and regulations during the course of audit. Now, where is this applicable to? Whom is NOCLAR applicable to? In India, this section applies only to audit engagements of entities where the shares of which are listed on a recognized stock exchange and has a net worth of 250 crores of rupees or more. And what is audit here? So for the purpose of this section, audit or audit engagement shall mean a reasonable assurance engagement in which the professional accountant in public practice expresses an opinion whether financial statements give a true and fair view in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Now, the provisions of NOCLAR guides an accountant in assessing the implication of the matter and what could be the possible courses of action when responding to non-compliance or suspected non-compliance. I'll keep using the words suspected non-compliance as well because, you believe that there could be a non-compliance or the non-compliance has not yet occurred, right? So it's not just responding to non-compliance, which is also responding to suspected non-compliance. So So, while responding to non-compliance or suspected non-compliance, either with laws and regulations, which generally recognize to have a direct effect on the determination of material amounts and disclosures in the client financial statements, or it could be other laws and regulations that do not have a direct effect on the determination of the amounts and disclosures in the client financial statement, but compliance with which might be fundamental to the operating aspects of the client's business, to its ability to continue its business or to avoid material penalties. Now, what should be the objective? Now, if you really see, a distinguishing mark for us as professional accountants is its acceptance of the responsibility to act in public interest. So when you're responding to non-compliance, the objectives to be obviously first and paramount would be to comply with the principles of integrity and professional behavior. Also, by alerting management and, if necessary, even to those charged with governance, to seek or enable them to rectify, remediate, or mitigate the consequences of identified non-compliance. Also, deter the commission of non-compliance where it has not yet occurred. And any other action by reporting to a particular authority, disclosing it, will come to that as we proceed. But any other action which is as appropriate within the public interest. Now, what is non-compliance? Now, non-compliance with laws and regulation comprises acts of omission or commission, could be intentional or unintentional, which are contrary to the prevailing laws or regulations committed by the client, management, or to those charged with governance, or any other individuals working for or under the direction of the client. Now, examples could be fraud, corruption, bribery, money laundering, data protection, what else? Tax and pension liabilities payments, even the non-financial aspects like environmental protection, public health and safety. So these non-compliances, right, may result in fines. There could be litigation or other consequences for the client, potentially materially affecting its financial statements. And importantly, such non-compliance might have a wider public interest implication in terms of potentially or substantially harm to the investors, to the creditors, employees, or the general public. Now, what is substantial harm? An act that causes substantial harm is one which results in serious adverse consequences to any of these parties. It could be in financial or non-financial firms. Now, I can give an example. Example could be a perpetration of fraud. It could result in significant financial losses to investors. It could be breaches of environmental laws and regulation, which could endanger the health or safety of employees or the public at large. So when you encounter these non-compliances, you need to obtain an understanding of the legal and regulatory provisions governing such non-compliance and comply with them, including any requirement, as I said, to report the matter to an appropriate authority, or also alerting the client. Now, if you encounter or you are made aware of these matters, you have to comply with this section. Now, if it is inconsequential, then you don't need to report. Of course, NUCLA also does not address personal misconduct unrelated to the business activities of the client and non-compliance by parties other than what I mentioned, right? But you can use the guidance of this section to also enable you to reach a conclusion for that. But whether a matter is clearly inconsequential is to be judged with respect to nature and its impact. Financial or otherwise, on the client, on the general public, the wider stakeholders at large. And it is responsibility of the management and also those charged with governance to ensure that the client's business activities are conducted in accordance with laws and regulations. So that is management responsibility. But what is our responsibility as professional accountants? Now, where a professional accountant becomes aware of a matter to which this section applies, The steps that the professional accountant takes to comply with this section shall be taken on a timely basis. Now, in taking timely steps, the accountant has to regard to the nature of the matter and the potential harm to the interest of the entity, which are the wider stakeholders, the investors, creditors, employees, public at large, right? So, the first thing, as I said, is to enable the professional accountant to discharge the responsibility, you need to obtain the understanding. Now, the understanding includes, as I said, the nature of the non-compliance and the circumstances in which it has occurred or it could occur. And for that, the professional accountant is expected to apply, and please listen to this carefully, is expected to apply knowledge and expertise and exercise professional judgment. However, the accountant is not expected to have a level of knowledge of laws and regulations greater than what is required to undertake an audit engagement. Because it doesn't say now, somebody told me there are 935 laws in India. Somebody said, there's a law made every 10 days, right? So all that, you are not supposed to know unless you come across it during your course of audit, any non-compliance, right? Or it should not be greater than what is required to undertake the audit engagement. And whether an act constitutes non-compliance is ultimately a matter to be determined by the court. Correct. Depending on the nature and the significance of the matter, you could consult on a confidential basis with others within your firm. It could be the network firm, it could be institute, or even with the legal counsel and take legal advice. Now, how would a professional accountant become aware? He could also become aware not only during to the course of audit, but also through information which are provided by other parties. But once he or she becomes aware, they have to discuss the matter with the appropriate level of management and where appropriate to those charged with governance as well. The purpose of this discussion is to clarify that the professional accountant's understanding of the facts and circumstances relevant to the matter and its potential consequences. So the consequence could be even higher. The discussion also might prompt management or those charged with governance to investigate that matter. What is this appropriate level of management? Now, the appropriate level of management with whom to discuss a matter is a question again of professional judgment, and relevant factors could be the nature and circumstances of the matter, the individuals actually or potentially involved, the likelihood of collusion for this matter, the potential consequences of the matter, whether the level of management is able to investigate the matter and take appropriate action. The appropriate level of management should be at least, I would say, one level above the individual or individuals involved or potentially involved in the matter. If it is a group, the appropriate level might be a management of an entity that controls the client. The professional accountant should also consider discussing the matter with the internal auditor, wherever applicable. And if you believe that the management is not cooperating or the management is disregarding what you said, you can also consider reporting to those charged with governance. Now comes, how do you address the matter once you've understood the matter? In discussing NOCLAR with management, the professional accountant should advise them to take appropriate action if they have not already done. So appropriate action could be, as I said, rectify, remediate, or mitigate the consequences of non-compliance. If it has not yet occurred, then deter the commission of non-compliance and disclose a matter to an appropriate authority where required by law and regulation. The professional accountant shall consider whether management and those charged with governance understand, firstly, their legal and regulatory responsibilities with respect to non-compliance. If they do not understand, then you might suggest appropriate sources of information, or also recommend that they take legal advice. It is also the duty of the professional accountant to comply not only with the applicable laws and regulations, but also the requirements under the auditing standards, which states that, identifying and responding to non-compliance, including fraud, right? There is a requirement under the SAs. Communicate with those charged with governance and consider the implications of non-compliance in the auditor's report as well. And some laws and regulations also stipulate a period within which reports of non-compliance are to be made to appropriate authority. Now, let me talk about communication with respect to groups, right? Now, where a professional accountant during the audit of consolidated financial statements becomes aware of non-compliance in relation to a component of a group, in case the parent company is listed in India or the component is a listed entity, the accountant shall communicate the matter to the group engagement partner unless prohibited from doing so by any law, right? So the communication to the group engagement partner shall be in addition to responding to the matter in accordance with the provision of this section, which I just mentioned. Now, the purpose of the communication is to enable the group engagement partner to be informed about the matter and to determine in the context of the group audit whether, and if so, how to address it in accordance with the provisions of this section. The communication requirement applies regardless of whether the group engagement partner's firm or network is the same or it is different from the CA's firm or network. And once the group engagement partners becomes aware, right, in the course of audit of consolidated financial statements in case of a parent company, or it could be a component company, the group engagement partner has to consider whether the matter might be relevant to one or more components. And if it is relevant to one or more components of the group, the group engagement partner has to take steps to have the matter communicate to those charged with governance. And also to the work, to the professional accountants performing work at the components, right? And if required, also the group engagement partner shall arrange for appropriate inquiries to be made as to whether the relevant components is subject to audit and to ascertain to the extent practicable the identity of the auditor. So again, as I said, the purpose of the communication is to enable those responsible for work at the components to be informed of the matter and to determine whether and how to address it in accordance with the provision of the section. One thing also I mentioned was, how do you determine whether further action is required other than communicating to the group engagement partner, to those charged with governance and management, right? The professional accountant should also assess the appropriateness of the response of the management and relevant factors to be considered whether the response of the management is appropriate or timely. There are some relevant factors you can consider, right? If immediately the management is responsive to it, that could be one positive factor. The non-compliance has been investigated by the management. Action has been or is being taken to rectify, remediate, or mitigate the consequences of non-compliance. Or action has been taken to deter the commission of non-compliance where it has not yet occurred. Appropriate steps have been taken to reduce the risk of reoccurrence. For example, there could be training, there could be additional controls which the management has added. Also, the non-compliance has been disclosed to an appropriate authority. If so, whether the disclosure appears adequate. Now, this determination and the nature and the extent of the further action required also depends on various factors, which includes the legal and the regulatory framework, the urgency of the situation, the pervasiveness of the matter, throughout the client, whether the professional accountant continues to have confidence in the integrity of the management, and where applicable to those charged with governance, whether the non-compliance is likely to recur, or whether there is a credible evidence of actual or potential substantial harm to the interest of the wider stakeholders like investors, creditors, employees, etc. Examples of circumstances that might cause the professional accountant no longer to have confidence in the integrity of the management would be when accountant suspects or has evidence of the involvement or the intended involvement, or the accountant is aware that they have knowledge of such non-compliance, and contrary to legal or regulatory requirements, they have not reported or authorizing the reporting or to the appropriate authority. So it's a matter of professional judgment in determining this. But in making that determination, you need to take into account whether a reasonable and informed third party, I repeat again, a reasonable and informed third party would likely to conclude that the accountant has acted appropriately in public interest. And what could be that further action? The further action that the professional accountant could take involves disclosing the matter, as I said, to an appropriate authority, withdrawing from the engagement and the professional relationship. Withdrawing from the engagement and professional relationship is not a substitute, by the way, for taking such actions that might be needed to achieve the professional accountant's objectives under this section. However, there may be limitations as to the further actions available to the accountant. So the withdrawal can be the only course of action. Correct? So, and the facts and the other information to be provided are those that in the predecessor's accountant's opinion, the proposed accountant needs to be aware before deciding whether to accept the audit appointment or no. An assessment of the matter might have complex analysis, judgment, and the professional accountant should or might consider, consulting internally, obtaining legal advice, as I said, to understand the accountant's options, or even on a confidential basis, even consult the institute. Now, disclosing the matter to the appropriate authority would be precluded if doing so would be contrary to a law or regulation. Otherwise, the purpose of making disclosure is to enable an appropriate authority to cause the matter to be investigated, and action is to be taken in public interest. The determination of whether to make such a disclosure depends in particular on the nature and the extent of the actual or the potential harm that is or might be caused to the public at large. So, for example, if the professional accountant might determine that the disclosure of the matter to an appropriate authority is an appropriate course of action, if, say, the entity is engaged in bribery, or the entity is regulated and the matter is of such significance as to threaten the license to operate, it is likely that the entity would sell products that are harmful to public health or safety. Or the entity is listed on the security exchange and the matter might be result in adverse consequences to the fair and orderly market in the entity's securities, or pose a systemic risk to the financial markets. So again, as I said, you or the professional accountant has to consider to make such a disclosure, looking at these external factors. So, for example, if the appropriate authority will depend also on the nature of the matter. So, for example, the appropriate authority would be ICAI in case the complaint is of professional misconduct against a professional accountant. It could be SEBI in case of fraudulent financial reporting, right? Or it could be Environmental Protection Agency. Example, the Environment Pollution Authority for National Capital Region of Delhi in case of breach of environmental laws. So, having said all of this, it's important for you to document. As we all say, whatever is not documented is work not done, right? So in relation to this non-compliance, you have to document how management and where applicable, those charged with governance have responded to the matter. The courses of action the accountant has considered, or the judgments which he or she has made, and the decisions that were taken, having regard to the reasonable and informed third party test. How the accountant is satisfied that the accountant has fulfilled the responsibility. And this documentation is an addition, mind you, to comply with the documentation requirements under applicable auditing standards. So essays also require that, prepare documentation which is sufficient to enable an understanding of significant matters arising on the audit. What are the conclusion reached, the significant judgment made in reaching the conclusion. You need to document discussions with management, including the nature of the significant matter, with whom, or when these discussions have taken place. Correct. One thing I forgot to mention for NOCLAR is that it is also applicable to professional accountants in service and employees of listed entities, and they've defined a senior professional accountants there. Now, so I'll just touch about, I think I'm running out of time, but I'll just touch in less than 30 seconds what senior professional accountants in service mean. It refers to key managerial personnel. They are directors, officers, senior employees who are able to exert significant influence and make decisions regarding the acquisition, control, deployment of the employing organizations, human or financial, technology, physical, and intangible resources, and they're able to exercise that influence over them. So even senior professional accountants are also covered in NOCLAR as well, right? And that is applicable to all listed entities. I think I can continue on and on, but I think I've covered briefly the main changes which have happened over the last 1 year. Happy to take any questions which you may have now or later as well. I'm available, and with that, thank you again to ICI for giving me this opportunity. Over to you, Hriday.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for just highlighting the code of ethics in really short span of time. Thank you so much. And quick questions from our end. One of the questions would be, can a chartered accountant in practice share his fees with the government in respect of the government audit that they have done?
So if you really look at part 1 of the schedule of the CA Act, revenue sharing or sharing of fees is not permitted, right? So if a CA in practice, is sharing fees with the government for the work, it would not be permitted. But you can, support the government. I don't know what the context is of this question, but it could be like you're assisting the government in position papers or coming up with a point of view that one can do, but sharing of fees is not permitted.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. One more question would be, can the goodwill of a chartered accountant firm be purchased?
Can a goodwill of a chartered accountant firm be purchased?
Can be purchased. Yeah.
So it is. So if it is in the nature of it, it all depends. It's merger or demerger, right? If again, we need to contextualize it to a question. So if there is another firm, right? It's you are acquiring a CA firm, right? Acquisition of a CA firm is more than permissible. Within the agreement, you can transfer your clients, etc. There are guidelines for that. You can clearly do that, correct? And that would be permissible, but you'll have to see the facts and circumstances of each case.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for highlighting that as well. Last question would be, ma'am, Can a CA provide taxation service to the audit clients?
So so I didn't have time, but I really want to, maybe next time we can do a whole session on that. It will take 2 hours. So there are changes which have happened in October 1 for that as well. It again depends on the services which you are providing. So like, deferred tax, you cannot calculate deferred tax and provide to the client, right? But if it is tax preparation, right, tax returns preparation, any service which is required to discharge your professional duties would be covered. But there are quite a few changes which have happened, and I think that will take me 1 hour, right, to at least explain. We can do one specific session. I'm happy to do that.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, again for a wonderful session from your end. And over to you, Dhanya. Let's move on.
Thank you, Riddhi. We'll move to the second session for the day. Happy to welcome CA Sarada Ashok. CA Sarada Ashok is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and an MBA from Finance from Periyar University. She's been a faculty for the students and has organized many career counseling programs across Salem for creating an awareness of the CA curriculum. She is currently practicing with her husband, CA Ashok Duraisamy, and is blessed with a son, Akhilesh Ashok, who is currently pursuing CA. She is very passionate about traveling worldwide. Welcome you, ma'am, to this session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction, and good evening to one and all here. Firstly, my heartfelt gratitude to the Women Member Empowerment Committee. I'm so happy to be a part of it, of this symposium. Though I have been associated with many seminars and many such talk, this is going to be really special because, it is always, we are always happy to be a part of it. So I'm so happy to be for this session, and I thank CA Shri Priya Kumar, who's the chairperson of this committee, for this wonderful every Wednesday meet that she is doing it virtually. And this every Wednesday with all variety of program. I've been going through all the what variety she is giving. And, both it might be academic or it might be a general topic like this. That is a lovely, and I congratulate this committee for continuously doing it. And I'm told this is the 34th. And I'm really happy and elated to be a part of this. And what I'm asked to talk to today is about the work-life balance and self-care. So firstly, I would want to say work-life balance, self-care is not only about for women, it is both for men, women, and of course, even for students, children, boys, girls, everything. This balance, work-life balance, for us, it's work-life, and for them, it is like a different balance, right? So this is universal, and it is a universally something that has to be addressed to. And we all long to be fabulously healthy and enjoy a long, happy life, don't we? I'm sure we all want to have a long and fabulous, healthy life. But each of us, in large parts, are we going towards this? I think we need to ponder about. Okay, so I will just start off with this, okay? Life is a game like juggling. Okay, you've seen a juggler, right? He keeps juggling with the balls. He keeps playing and juggling with the balls. So what I would say is, when we just start our life we just start our work in our early 20s or something, you're having just 2 balls to juggle with. When you're not married, you've just entered the work and everything, you have just 2 balls to manage. One would be your work, and one would be how you're going to, manage it with your social life. Okay, so just two to juggle with, because you're not you're with your parents, and you're with the PG, so you don't have a family responsibility. So this will be your early work life. So that time you have to keep juggling and juggling with two balls. It is not definitely going to be a tough thing. Okay. So what happens? Everything becomes a bit tougher when you have more balls to juggle, right? So the next stage comes when you have a work, you're married, and you have a family, and then again you have a social life. So again, you see, it's going to be 3 balls to juggle. Yes, that wouldn't be that difficult initially. A little bit of compensation here and there, some compromise here and there. Yes, that juggling also wouldn't be a great or something that would definitely, it's manageable. We can say it is manageable. Then what happens once we have children? So work, family, and social life would be 3 balls. When you add a 4th ball into it, when your family becomes a bit larger, when you have a child, when you have children, and again, now comes the 4th ball in for your juggling. You need to take care of your health and your family's health, right? So now the juggling starts from 2, it's increased slightly to 3, and now the 4th ball, the health, is also being introduced inside this juggling. And this is where we have to all keep, have to take, extra care. And the juggling becomes more and more difficult with 4 balls to manage. And after that comes the self-care, and again the social, friends and everything. Then it is becoming even more difficult. But what we have to say is, work is a rubber ball. All the rest of the 5 balls, I would equate them to glass balls. A work, even if when you're juggling, even it falls down, it wouldn't break, because I told a work is a rubber ball. So what I mean is, if you lose a job, God willing, because of the economy and because of the profession you have in your hand, we can definitely look in for another job, right? So I would equate it to a rubber ball. But what about the other 4 balls? They are like a glass ball. Once it falls and breaks, it is irrevocable. Don't you think? Just ponder on it. Once our health is gone, it takes a lot of time to recoup back. Once there is a crack in the family, it is very difficult for us to recoup. Once we don't have any social gathering, what happens? We don't meet friends, nothing. What happened? Again, we have been aloof by our friends. There is no self-care. That's it. Right. So the other 4 balls that we keep juggling in our life are all made of glass. Once broken, cannot be revoked at all. It is irrevocable and irreparable. But that work, that is a rubber ball, you lose a job now. Yes, some days we'll be jobless. But we can definitely find a better job, or we can find a job that is suitable to us, or we can find a job that would really suit. You can take a part-time job. The economy is open, and we as a professionals, we know every day there has been more and more demand for our chartered accountancy course. Don't you feel that? With the invent of new things, the work of a chartered accountancy has become so wide that we can definitely look into new avenues. We can definitely look into we can change our lives. We can change our professional line, everything. We have all those options. But just imagine what would happen if the other balls are broken. Just ponder upon it. Okay. So we'll come back to this later. So among the hustle and bustle of everyday life, so I told you self-care takes the back seat. And, striking a balance is the most important thing that we are we have to look into it. Okay. So overlooking self-care can be really costly, may be something that we have to really take care of. Okay. So what happens is always everybody is like, what if they tell this? What if they say that? What will they people think about me? This is what every time we keep pondering. We think, okay, what will they think about us in workplace? What will our family think about this? What will our friends think about it? Always we keep thinking about what others think about us. I would just want to, share a very small story, just for y'all to know that if what others think about us doesn't matter at all. Okay, just I would say a story. A husband and wife, they went and got a donkey. Okay, so they went and they got a donkey. They tied a rope in its neck, and they were trying to pull it. The donkey refused to come. But with great difficulty, they were just pulling and bringing the donkey. One passerby, he just stopped and just said, "Hello, what are you doing to that donkey? Why are you pulling so hard? Wouldn't it be painful?" So these two thought, oh, okay, it's going to be painful, right? So what shall we do? With great difficulty, both the husband and wife they carried the donkey. So they were just carrying the donkey, very difficult. It was so difficult to carry, but they carried and they just walked. A few minutes later, another passerby, he just stopped and he said, "Are you mad? You're carrying a donkey. Donkey is meant to help us. We buy donkeys for our help. Why are you carrying it?" Then they were thinking, hey, what is this? This person has got a different perspective. He is telling that donkeys are meant to help us, but we are carrying the donkey. So they decided, okay, we'll put the donkey down. And they put the donkey down. And the husband said, okay, the donkeys are meant to carry loads, right? You sit on the donkey. I'll pull you and the donkey together. So the wife sat upon the donkey and the husband was pulling the donkey and they were just going by and by. A few minutes later, another passerby. What is this? What lady are you? Your husband is pulling you and the donkey and you have no consideration for him. He is doing everything and you're sitting and coming. What is this? Then she was feeling so bad. Oh my God, am I doing a mistake? Then what she said was, okay, I'll get down from the donkey. You sit down. I will just pull you. I'll take you around with the donkey. A few minutes later, another passerby. What a man are you, man? A lady is pulling you and the donkey, and you have no shame at making a lady work. Just see what has been happening in the 4 different scenarios. They succumb to what others say. These people succumb to what others say, right? This was what happens in our real life too. We always think what others think of us. We always think, what will we do if we don't finish today's work in the workplace? We'll always think, we haven't finished our work in the house. Always we just think that what the others would perceive about us, what the others are going to talk about us, what the others are going to, create an opinion about us. Is that going to help us in any way? Is others' opinion going to help us in any way? Just ponder on it. No way. We have to decide as to how we have to be. We have to decide as to how we want, right? So that's why I told you this small story. Even the different passerby was giving a different comment. And these people were, so obsessed with what others were telling. Same way in our life, if we don't finish the work in the office and go, we are scared as to what's going to happen in the office. If we don't finish the work, the work at home, we are going to get tensed up. How are we going to, balance the family? If we are not going out with a friend for a movie or for an ice cream, we are going to get tensed as to, what are the friends going to think about us? We are just juggled with so much of things that what others will think and what others are going to say about us. Just sit for a minute and ask your body. Just ask your body, I'm your friend. What do you want me to do? You know what? Your body would say, this is what I've been waiting for a long time. Listen to me. Listen to what I want. Okay, so your body would definitely respond, telling that it would want to give a listening ears to what your body says. So improve on your listening skills. Listen to our body and our mind. If you think it's good for your body, continue it. Don't ever stress out. Listen to what your mind says. Your body and mind are going to be the deciding factors as to what we are going to do, and not X, Y, or Z. Not somebody in our office, not somebody at our home, or not our friends. All that we have to give a listening ears is to our body and our mind. Okay, say, now, I would also want to say that many of us, all of us are around numbers. We always start living with numbers. I'm sure during our school days when we were studying, what would be the number? How many hours of studies do we need to do a day? Okay, so how many hours we have to study? How many hours? So we were with numbers that time. And when we go to work, it happens like how many hours we are going to work. So how many hours today we are going to work, this hours, that hours. So that again, we are going to work with numbers. After some days, we have to, when we have having a little of health conscious, then again, what calories we are going to eat. Again, numbers come in play. Okay, so numbers we say, how many calories you're going to eat today? Oh, you restrict to this calories, you restrict to that calories. Then after a few days, again, we are going to play with numbers. Nowadays, they are telling 10,000 steps is enough for a day. So walk 10,000 steps, So again, we are just, cycled into a number again, 10,000 steps and everything. And again, they say sleep for 8 hours a day, sleep for 6 hours a day, sleep for 7 hours a day. So in every part of our life, these numbers play some part of the other. Okay. So one thing I would really want to say is studying 10 hours a day, working 8 hours a day, you're eating 2,000 calories, or you're walking 10,000 steps, or you're sleeping 8 hours or whatever, anything. It is not uniform. It is not a fixed formula. Right. A child can if a child is capable of finishing any task within 1 or 2 hours, why should he or she take it to 7 hours or 8 hours? Not necessary, right? So it depends on the capability or his or her planning to finish it. Right. So similarly, a work which can be finished in 2 hours by Mr. X would have been taken 4 hours by Mr. Y or by 1 hour by Mr. Z. It again depends on each one's capability, skill, all your practice, your experience, everything. Right. So again, the food we eat 2,000 calories a day or 1,000 calories a day or 3,000 calories a day depends on your body constitution, depends on how you're able to burn out, depends on how you are able to, manage it. It is not a universal formula. Similarly, walking 10,000 steps may be good for someone, walking 12,000 for someone, walking 8. So what I would want to say at the end of the day, and again, sleep. They recommend 8 hours of sleep, but I know many people who are hale and healthy with even 6 hours of sleep, but many are even unhealthy with 8 hours of sleep. Okay, so what I would want to say is there is no one fixed formula for anything. We cannot fix a formula and say that this is correct, this is wrong. It might be right for some people, it might be wrong for someone else. Some could finish a work even within 2 hours, and some can finish the same work for 6 hours. So there is no universal formula. There is nothing like that is what I'm telling. I was just telling, never live with numbers. You have to stop living by numbers. Sorry. You have to stop living by numbers. So they think numbers play a vital role, but we should never succumb to such a formula. We have as I told, each person is different, and we have to listen to what our body says. If your body clock says, yes, I'm tired now, we have to stop it. If your body clock says, yes, I have energy, let's move about. Okay. And when your mind says, okay, let's go for an ice cream now, but you have still some work to finish, don't you think after an ice cream, will you not have extra energy to finish that work? Why not? Listen to your mind. Okay. So that's what I was telling, more than these numbers, more than what the others are going to say, what Mr. X is going to say, it would definitely be a better option to listen to what our body and what our mind says. They are the best judge. Your body is the best judge. By evening, if you feel I'm tired, yes, we are going to end the day now, listen to it. That's it. If you might have still some work, but as I told you, work, you can always, until and unless it's an emergency, until you have an appeal that you have to finish, or until the work is an emergency, sure, we can postpone our work, right? We can give a listening ears to what our body says, right? So that is what is being, required. All this realization comes only after an age. Yeah, when I was in my 20s or 30s, even I was, having that same, now it is easy to preach, but when you were actually in that age, I was also under so much of work pressure, home thing, and small child, everything. Balancing was definitely not an easy task. Balancing is definitely not an easy task, but I would say I have a living example in my house, my father-in-law. He is 90 years now. I've been seeing him, how he manages his work. His work, his social activities, his friends gathering, everything. He doesn't want to miss out anything. So, that gave me a real inspiration. He works from morning 10, even at 90. He works from morning 10 to afternoon 2, evening 4 to 7. Okay. So these are his working hours at 90. And he also meets his friend every alternate Saturdays. He has fun. He has fun with his friends. He goes for Lions Club. He does a lot of charity. He is a secretary of a school. He gives advice to the teachers, management, everything. So all these are an inspiration for me that one person, if you can manage your time properly, you are capable of doing everything. So having a live example at home, and I have never seen him stressed at all. I have never seen him stressed at all. So all these live examples has only made me realize all this. So maybe initially that young blood when I was in my 20s, that didn't get into my head. That time, it was like, as I said, that donkey story, what other people are going to talk about me, what these people are going to talk to. But at the end of the day, after there was a scratch in my health, I decided, who cares? Who cares what they are going to tell about me? Who cares what the other person? At the end of the day, it's going to be my health, right? So that is how we come out of it. And that is how we have to manage that, giving priority to the other, a balance. I wouldn't say priority, have a balance, have a time management. You have to manage your work as well as you need to manage your personal, family. You need to have interaction with your friends. You need to have self-care, everything, all the other balls in the juggle, which I was telling, everything has to be given equal importance. As I always told you all, as we are professionals, we have the qualification in our hand, right? So we need not get so much stressed about our work. See, in case if it is going to be such a stressful work, why should we take so much of stress and have some impact on our health at the cost of our health? Why should we have so much of stress? Why not we give a second thought? Is that really required? Am I not capable of getting another job? Am I not capable of being on my own? As you know, we as CA professionals, we can be on our own. No, we have the options of being on our own. So you all can think of different angles, especially if there are young children here, young students, young members here. Humble advice: don't overwork with having mark on your health. As I told you, work, even you lose one, you are qualified to get another. But missing on your health, missing on your family, missing on your social events, and missing on your self-care, definitely think twice. Have a balance. You have a balance. All this young children, if all this will definitely have a scar when you all become old. Definitely it will have an impact on you when you're becoming old, right? As you'll grow, as you're growing old. Okay, so I told you we need to have a work-life balance, right? So how can we do that? So I'll just touch upon few things, how I did. Maybe as I told you, it is not one single formula, not one size fits all. It's not like one size fits all. It is like each one, you all will be in a different circumstance. You will be in a different environment. Everybody is going to be in a different environment. But I'll just give a broad, work-life balance, some ideas, whichever suits y'all. Y'all can just pick and choose whichever suits y'all. Okay. So in that, my first priority is health. I would always say, give importance to your health. Health once gone it is so difficult to recoup and get back. Definitely the first thing you should give importance is for your health. So work while you work. At the same time, taking care of your health should be your first and utmost priority, because it is so difficult for you to revoke and come back to your health. I know I have seen so much of chartered accountants who have, a few have really lost their life also because of the stress. So is it that, required to stress out so much? You all have to think, okay? So we give the best service to our clients, but I'll be thinking, we give the best service to our clients. We think we are doing the best, and sometimes when the clients want to switch over from one chartered accountant to the other, personally, we might think, oh my God, he's leaving us. What's wrong in us or something? There might be some personal, itches or something. But do you think that a client would think, oh, this lady has helped me so much in many of my cases. This lady has helped me file all the returns all these days, is he going to have that in his mind? A small fees, if somebody is charging less, or somebody is giving a slightly better service, they want to, switch over from one person to another. But we members, what we do, we give our whole body, soul, everything, and we work for our clients. But do you think there will be that much loyalty for all that we are doing at the cost of our health? Kindly ponder. So give your health as the first main priority. That only stands, apart. Work is definitely needed, but balance it with your health first. That can never be revoked. This is what I would prioritize. I would definitely prioritize my health as my first priority. So this health, how are we going to get good health? Just a few tips is that I always prefer yoga as my top priority for good health. Yoga helps all age people. Youngsters, they can go for a walk, they go for a jogging, they go to gym, they have personal trainers, everything, right? Okay, so that would suit one particular type of people. But I would personally say yoga suits all ages. I can definitely vouch because I could see a real transformation in my health with the help of yoga, with a few breathing exercise. Especially during Corona, I was the person in my house who was touch wood not affected. Though the whole house, everybody got, because I was thinking my pranayama helped. Every day my yoga ma'am used to make me do pranayama for 15-20. Usually it would be for 10 minutes. But during those Corona, she made me do some extra pranayama. That time it was like, it was irritating. Definitely, it was irritating. But when I realized we were all under the same roof, by God's grace, I escaped Corona somehow, but the rest of the family were slightly affected by it. So I was just thinking, yes, yoga definitely played some role in my health, and it really helped with stress management. After a hectic office day, just 3 minutes of, they call it Brahmari Pranayama. I just finished that. It's just 2 minutes, not even 3 minutes, 2 minutes of it. My mind becomes so light. I leave everything in my office and come back to my house. I don't carry all the stress from my office to my house. This yoga helped me, which was not there a few years, some 10, 15 years back. It was not the case. When I come home, I used to, keep thinking, oh, tomorrow I have this work, tomorrow. It was like stressful in office also. After I came home also, it was stressful. Tomorrow I have to finish this work. I have that work. But now I know what work I have to do, but I don't take it as a stress. Okay, I have to do this work. I'll do some time management and I will do it. This definitely, my mind calmed down. My anxiety can calm down. Everything because of yoga. So I would totally vouch everyone doing a few minutes of yoga every day, and you yourself will see a transformation in you. All ages. Why I'm saying is this is suitable for all ages, because I can't say somebody go jog, I can't say somebody go walk, something. But youngsters, if dancing gives you some good mood, dance. If you're listening to music gives you all some good mood, listen. Do whatever that makes you all happy. Do what your mind says. If your mind says, yes, it's raining, let's go and dance. Yes. And if your mind says, come on, we are going to listen to some good music, some dashing music. Yes. And if your body is also ready to dance. Yes. So that's what I said. Listen to what your body and mind says. And this, what I'm saying, is universally acceptable by all age. That is why I'm telling this. If you have another way for your de-stress, yes, you're most welcome. Okay. So one thing for good health I would suggest is yoga. And at least yoga, you have to, do it in an empty stomach or something. My next suggestion would be meditation. Just 2 minutes of meditation. It can be done any part of the day. It can be done at any place. It can be done at any time. Just 2 minutes of meditation just calms your body and your mind. It just brings all your stress levels down, and it really calms down your body. So that, really doesn't need, but even if you're in your bed, just 2 minutes, you can just sit, you can just, do some meditation. It doesn't matter in which place you are. It doesn't matter in which place you are. Practicing a few minutes of meditation really gives a fantastic level of your balance in your mind. So if you get a good balance in your mind, then automatically everything else falls in place, right? So these are the few tips for good health. Then another tip I would want to say is say polite no. I know it's so difficult to say a no to any work, and it's so embarrassing to say no to anything. No, it is such a difficult thing to say no to some work, to something. But you know what? The art of saying no. I don't want you all to keep saying no every time. I want you all to say no when your body and mind is saying no. When your body and mind is saying no, your mouth is not ready to say no, right? Learn that art of saying no after listening to what your body and mind says. This definitely has to be cultivated, because it is a very difficult thing. It is still, I'm in the practicing stage. I'm a student, for this. Still, I would, it would be a difficult task for me to, practice this. But I think now some places I have said a firm no, if my body and mind, listening to my body and mind. Okay, so that saying a firm no, listening to what your body says and listening to what your mind says, definitely can help you all to balance your work and your family. Okay, and you have to set boundaries. In this way, I'm not telling you all to be selfish, but you have to be, self-care. All you all have to do is do self-care. You all don't have to be selfish in setting boundaries, but this is for your self-care. You set a boundary and say, yes, this is the limit. I'll definitely work up to this limit. In your house, in your workplace, everywhere, you set a limit. I can definitely finish this much a day. I can definitely work this much a day. I can definitely be with my friends for a few minutes. With my friends for these few minutes. All this, you set a boundary. That boundary is, again, with no formula. It depends on individual to individual. Okay, so it all depends on how much, depends on the situation also. Today I'm free. Yes, I don't mind spending another few hours with my friends, chilling out with them, right? So it all depends on your situation, your individual, everything. So you have to set a boundary, and you have to, follow whatever boundary has been set by you. Then again, I would want to just give from all these have been taken from my, because I was always a perfectionist. And if something is not perfect, that will just keep stressing me. Everything should be perfect for me. In my office, my house, everything, it should be perfect. And that was so stressful. And after that, I decided being a perfectionist is something which I have to, overcome and come. So definitely let go the perfectionist in you. So let go the perfectionist in you. And I'm sure definitely that would, take out a lot of stress out of you. That once you experience it, and you will know that that will take out a lot of stress in you. A very, very important thing is me time. I'm sure everybody should have a me time, be it in the morning or evening, some part of the day, every day. It's not a weekly me time. Sorry, it should be everyday me time. That me time can be either for you to listening music. Yes, that can be your me time. If you want to, have a small walk and come, yes, that can be your me time. If you want, to go out for an ice cream, yes, that can be your me time. That me time depends on how you want. Or you want to just, chill by sitting in your sofa and just watching some comedy show. Yes, that is also my me time. Right. So that me time, I can't give you, each one has to define which your me time is, but definitely every day, your me time should definitely be met with. Be it in the morning, that depends on, the which part of the day, morning, afternoon, evening, that you all can plan. That depends on the circumstances. That depends on how it is going to be. If you're a busy person, a morning person, then take some me time in the evening. If you're, you start your work late, then you can take your me time in the morning. So however it is, that me time is definitely very, very important for every person. And I'm sure that would definitely have a little of balance, work and life balance. Next, do what you feel like doing. Say, for example, I'm in Inner Wheel and I'm in Rotary and I'm in a few kitties. Definitely, I would like to, do a few social service. Maybe doing a social service gives me some satisfaction. That is my me time. Okay, so what I do is once a month, I would like to go to some school, give some children some. I'm not going to do something great, but even giving a few books and a pencils make me happy. That is my me time, and I do it. So do something which you like. You can do it through a social organization, or you can do it individually. Something that whatever makes you happy, you all can do that. Because at the end of the day, we are going to listen to what our body says, and we are going to listen to what our mind says. If your mind says giving this makes you happy, do it. If your mind says doing dancing in the rain gives you happy, do that. Everything is what our body and mind says. If we listen to what our body and mind says, stress is equal to 0. It's my formula. Okay. So it doesn't, one more thing, it doesn't mean that we have to be busy always. We don't need to be busy all the time. We have to be busy, right? But is it necessary 24/7 we need to be busy? No, definitely not. You can also explore places. That also, is a real de-stressor. I love traveling. I really love traveling. I love to explore places. Not that I should be only traveling outside India, even within India. Even in the place where I stay with my Inner Wheel, I just went to one tribal hill. It was a small tribal hill, and it was such a lovely trekking. And after I went there, and only I saw so many people were in need of pens, notebooks, pencils. We were trying to help. So that small things, that what makes us happy, if we do, that itself is a de-stressor. Whatever you can do, a small travel also, helps a lot of de-stressing. And or you can go for a hike. If you're a fitness freak, you go for a hike, or you can go for a cycling. That's what I said. Everything and anything and everything, what makes you happy, you do it. And happiness is within us, and we need not go in search of it. Okay, it is all that it is within us is only happiness. We need not go in search of happiness outside. We can search the happiness within us. We need not make ourselves miserable to be successful in life, because success isn't what is needed. Success isn't, it isn't hard work that is needed. That is smart work. That is what is ultimately needed. If you do some smart work, definitely success will also come to your way. That's what, as I told earlier, it doesn't mean you need to work 6 hours. If you can work smart within 2 hours and finish it, that is smart work. If you do a smart work, that is enough. We can't truly be considered successful as a professional life as well as in our home life. Because, we always think everywhere we should be successful. In our home life also we should be successful. In our professional life also we should be successful. So everywhere you think you need success, what happens is that itself is becoming a stressful life. So have a balance. We need not, just have success as our, goal. We will have it, but not as something which is, you shouldn't stress out for that success, because success isn't everything in life. Okay. At times, failures also teach a lot of lessons in our life. So, at the end, I would just want to say one thing: enjoy the life to the fullest, whatever you like, however you like, because we are going to live only once. We need, as I told you, the other balls are all glasses. Work is a rubber ball which will bounce back. It will definitely bounce back, however we put it down. But the other balls that falls down will break, and they are irrevocable. Have a lovely balance. Listen to your body and mind, because our body is waiting for us to listen to it and to act accordingly. So this is the message I would want to share it with all of y'all. Okay, thanks for this lovely opportunity. I really thank this Women's Committee and Sri Priya Kumar for giving me this lovely opportunity to share a few thoughts on this work-life balance. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a few comments. That was such a nice presentation by you, and you've spoken in a very lucid manner, very like the way we are talking to our own friends. So thank you for that. We have one question from one of the members, that a woman CA who has no one to look after the kids, how to manage the job and kids. Do you have any suggestions on that?
That time I can just give it from my experience. I had a small son and I had a family support. I should say that I was lucky enough that I had a family support. Yes, it is difficult. And during that time, I think they can go for some part-time jobs. That would be one suggestion. So I really don't know whoever's asked the question in what situation they are, because it depends from situation to situation. If a part-time job suits him or her, that can be done. Or if they have a family support to take care of the children, that would work. I think some small things like this can only be, balanced. Or the worst case scenario, they have to, do some work from home jobs until the children are, independent enough. Somewhere, some sacrifice has to be done. You can't have everything in one thing. No? Some sacrifice might have to be done. Or in my experience, I would say that I had a family support when I had a small child, and that is how it worked for me. That's what I said. That formula I can't, apply for everyone. I don't know that situation. Maybe in that case, in that person's case, a part-time job or a work from home job type of jobs could help until the children grow up. That is the only possible I can think of now.
Thank you, ma'am. I think all of us will agree to the fact that Sarda ma'am has really spoken in a very non-complex manner, and in a way that we all can connect. Right now, all of us are like, it is, as she rightly opened, that there is no gender-specific criteria about maintaining work-life balance. I think all of us have something to take home from this, especially the fact that there's no fixed formula, and let's not pressurize ourselves to do self-care. Thank you, ma'am. I, on behalf of the Women Members Empowerment Committee, for today's session, Sky High Symposium number 34, I really thank you from behalf of the on behalf of the committee as well as all the participants. Also, I'd like to thank Karishma ma'am, who's been there online, from the first session. Thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, Also, I'll like to propose a hearty vote of thanks to the participants, to the audience. I think without you all, this session would not have been successful. Also, to the committee who's put faith in me to to take today's vote of thanks. Thank you so much. Now I'll request the tech support team to kindly close the session.